You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
Lutheran Church Extension Fund is a wonderful partner with KFUO. We're so grateful for their partnership and want to check in with them and see how things are going and what they've been up to through this time of the COVID-19 pandemic. Joining us today, Rehema Kavugha. She's Synod Relations Manager for Lutheran Church Extension Fund. Rehema, thanks so much for joining us on the Coffee Hour.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to get a chance to talk to you guys.
We are just excited to talk with you about what's going on at LCEF. Remind us again, what is LCEF's mission today?
So LCEF for the last 40 years has had the humble privilege of supporting the workers, the church, schools, and organizations of the LCMS. And what we do is simple. We invite Lutherans to invest with us, and then we use those investments to help support the work of all of those different entities, the LCMS individuals, schools, and organizations through low-cost loans and other ministry resources. So we're really thankful for investors.
So what has all that been like for the last three going on 4 months now?
Yes, it's been interesting. I mean, as you all know, life has gone different for all of us, but I think through it all, God always remains faithful, and He has shown Himself in many and various ways. We're really thankful here at LCEF that through it all, we've remained strong. Our investors have kept all of their dollars and had increases as investors, and we've just been able to work with different entities to support what we do and who we serve. So those kind of ended up falling into three big buckets. We worked with our borrowers. We identified early childhood centers as one part of the LCMS that got hit the hardest. And then we worked with congregations regarding online giving. So those were the three main buckets over the last couple of months and moving forward.
So let's dig into those. Tell us a little bit more about taking care of borrowers who are LCEF borrowers.
Yes. So as you know, LCEF partnered up with the LCMS for the Soldiers of the Cross initiative, which helped. But specifically to our borrowers, we know that everyone was trying to figure out how to survive financially. And so we were intentional about reaching out to them right away to help address some of their economic strains and provide remedies that can help support them through this time. Many of them dealing with the restrictions on gatherings and shelter in place. And so through those intentional outreaches, we were able to help 245 different ministries who had a total loan balance of nearly $250 million to do some monthly deferral payments. And so that was a really big relief for our borrowers, knowing that we understood what their needs were and were able to assist them right away.
What does that actually look like on the ground in person with some of those people?
So a lot of it, especially with our borrowers, they needed assistance being able to pause their monthly payments through their loans with us, allowed them to defer those funds to assist their congregations and their schools and their early childhood centers with the financial needs that they had right away. As you know, through the government, there was the PPP loans that were also an additional assistance. But with LCF, we recognized those and wanted to do what we can to help them take a little bit of a load off because there was a lot of other things that were on their mind, obviously, during this time.
So providing that relief then enabled them to continue to carry on the ministry that they've been given to do.
Exactly. Yeah. And, as we dug into that, as I was saying, one of the buckets that we ended up group of people that we ended up working with were particularly with early childhood centers. And this we did a lot in partnership with the school ministry department of the LCMS. And so we found out that they were the ones being hardest hit for a variety of reasons, many of them trying to stay open because we know that first responders and those who still had to continue to work needed childcare for their students. And so they were trying to keep up compliance and all of those other things as rules keep changing and as they learned more about what CDC was providing. So,
Yeah, we have an early childhood center at our church and school as well, and I know that was just really challenging. So many questions, so many difficult decisions to have to make during that time, and we're so grateful. Our congregation also is a member and a recipient of the great support of LCEF, and it just through a difficult time like that, it was nice to have that support and to have that encouragement from LCEF. And the Early Childhood Center was then able to reopen afterwards without losing staff, without really any severe consequences from the pandemic, and able to return to really reaching out to the community in the ways that we have been doing for years, and very grateful for that. So, anything else about early childhood centers before we move forward?
yeah, thank you for sharing that story, Andy. I mean, as we were talking with early childhood centers, it became clear that it was more than just financial means um, that were part of the issue. And what LCF wants to do as we partner in ministry is we know how all like the wellness wheel of our own selves, the wellness wheel of any organization, is make sure that we could assist in many and various aspects of that. And so as we were talking to early childhood centers, we identified some other issues and tried to provide resources for that. So we actually hosted a webinar series and had three different speakers on 3 different days, and it was really neat. So our first day, we had the executive director of Lutheran Counseling Services, Megan Meisler, who presented regarding loss and grief and anger and other emotions that not only students go through, but as well as the caregivers and families and children during this time, and also in preparation as those schools are getting ready to open, to consider. And then we also had Kathy Einsberger, who's from Upbring School of Discovery and Leadership, located in Houston, Texas. And she's an administrator. And so she really shared some of the challenges and things to think about as they're restarting preschools and early childhood centers. And it was very helpful because she is one of those centers, since it is located in the heart of Houston, they've actually remained open throughout the pandemic because they serve so many first responders through the Houston Medical Center. So she shared some great insight. And then finally, we had a longtime consultant for the LCMS Southern Eastern District, Dr. Bill Now, who talked about other unique challenges after reopening with extended closures. And that touched upon financial to restrictions and guidelines. And so it was a great opportunity, again, to offer some additional services to um, those entities and others that we can help at least have that conversation and offer some resources. And we did that in partnership again with school ministry, who were wonderful in that relationship.
What a great way to show love and support for all these families and children in our synod who have also been affected in many and various ways by what we've all collectively been going through over the last 3 or 4 months now at this point.
It's all kind of blurring. You're right.
It is all
really,
blurring.
yeah. And it's really just about conversations too. So
Yeah,
trying to have those
absolutely.
conversations. Yeah.
How else have you been able to help the church during this time?
So, as I talked about, we worked with our borrowers as well as early childhood centers. And then the last is our churches, and many of them, all of them at one point or another, or are still doing some sort of online presence or online church and services. And so having to rethink the aspects of worship and how to do that virtually. And one of those tools that is still so important for our churches was the financial side, which is through offering and through giving. And so LCEF has Joyful Response. We've had it for many years, which is an online tool through a partner, Vanco, who's a third-party vendor for online giving. And so we've had many congregations reach out to us wanting to utilize that service, and for some of our current congregations who were using it, just exploring all the various ways that it can be used. So Give Now is a app that you can download and use through Joyful Response, which is a really quick and easy way, and you can set up online and other virtual tools like that. So we had many congregations who did that and have been blessed through that. We actually had a congregation out in Overland Park, Kansas, who reached out a couple weeks into kind of the first stay-at-home orders that were happening, and just shared with us that in the last few weeks they had received the most amount of money through worship, and it was just plainly through online giving, and it's just been a blessing to those congregations. So we hosted 2 webinars where we talked about the services, and then used part of our ministry support staff to talk about what that looks like in the congregation. How do you adjust that? And even as congregations start having face-to-face, we know that there's still minimal contact. And so that service is something that they can use beyond these last 4 months as they think about the life of the church.
With just about a minute left, any final words you'd like to share with our listeners today?
Well, obviously, we want to say thank you. We appreciate KFUO and giving us the opportunity to share the work for the church, and how LCEF continues to do that. And we want to encourage people to reach out to us, and we'd love to help. So feel free to give us a call at any time. LCEF continues to pray for all of the church and its members, as well as our first responders and all of those who are doing such great work during this time.
Rehema Kavugha, Synod Relations Manager for Lutheran Church Extension Fund. Rehema, thanks so much for being our guest on the Coffee Hour today.
Thank you.
You're listening to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
The Coffee Hour with Andy and Sarah is a production of KFUO. To support the Coffee Hour and KFUO Radio, visit KFUO.org. You can also text KFUO to 41444 or send an email to gifts@KFUO.org. And you can call us at 800-844-0524. KFUO. Christ for you, anytime, anywhere.